Welcome, folks, to My Combat Channel News. I'm the Yak Man, Ron Yakovetti.
FABIANO, we have the king of armbar.
Love that nickname. You got to open up an actual bar called the Arm Bar.
Well, it's a lot of competition there. You got the queen, the king, the prince. You got the whole family growing up.
You're the king of it, though.
I know.
You're the king of it. So all proceeds go up to the royalty.
Till we speak.
Yeah.
You know, maybe somebody else can take my tire.
We start on the list now with the UFC and MMA in general trying to grow, not just globally, but we focus so much on the international growth. One of the places that's still stagnated is New York State. It's a lot of politics behind that. Part of it is because there's a union in the culinary industry that is upset with Zuffa because the Fertittas have hotels in the station hotels in Vegas, non-union for the culinary employees, so they're blocking it with a lobby in New York to not let it be legal. But now Zuffa having their case, their motion for their case to have it legalized, a motion to dismiss by the state of New York.
I think have a lot more to do. Actually, there's just the sport to be legalized. That, like you say, you know, it's
Right.
a lot more behind the whole scene that we don't see it. It's just think, oh, well, the MMA is not legal in New York. It's not exactly that. It's more things involved in that. The point of this.
Right. So. Zuffa's case that they're trying to make is they're trying to say they're trying to take a free speech route. They're citing a case the Supreme Court did, which was Brown versus Entertainment, where it was trying to prohibit video games and violence in it for keeping it from children. And they're trying to say that the free speech thing's similar to that, so they ought to be able to do the sport. The state is saying that is a misuse of the free speech amendment, and that in fact it is not, and they're trying to have the whole thing dismissed, that it doesn't apply to sports.
You know what? When I fought first time the UFC actually went to New Jersey, I fought that. That was I fought on that show, and we did all the promotion on the Triangle Square in New York.
Yeah.
So like you know, we're talking about a Brazilian sliced California boy. You know, that's me. I thought I was in the same place. You know, I thought I was fighting in New York. You know, but exactly, I fought in New Jersey, and you know, a little more geographic. I know exactly where I was at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it is more or less that you're in the same ballpark. I mean, the two football teams from New York play in New Jersey. So the argument is, again, that they're trying to say that MMA is a public form of expression, and New York is saying, no, that's not how it works. So now they're motioning to dismiss it, and the UFC, I believe Zuffa has until August, or shortly, I guess a few months after the initial filing, to respond to that dismissal, but I mean, which they will, because again, New York, a very big battleground state for MMA to be legalized, and many folks think, as far south as promotions in Florida like Art of Fighting, they think that when the sport is legalized in New York, it'll open up the whole Eastern Seaboard more so than it already is.
I know UFC is going to do the hard work for the small organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of, you know, New York not legalizing and allowing it, on the other side of the coin now, we move to Georgia, where their athletic commission is at a loss for a guy who can sanction and allow for the fights, because they need someone who is more knowledgeable to look at matchmaking and say this is an okay card, this is not an okay card. The guy they have taking a leave, and according to their executive director, Andy Foster, they named Secretary Steve Lindsay, they just named in the board meeting, is not able to approve matches. They're saying, you know, a good guy, qualified to a degree, but can't oversee the matchmaking.
You have to be very deep into the whole sport.
Right.
Follow up now and forever to be able to do that.
Right. And as we're talking now, you'll see too some of the promotional posters, just three, one boxing, two other MMA promotions. There's a lot of shows that are happening in that region now as the sport grows, and that whole state could lose that all entirely for the entire 2013 year until they get somebody in here who the state will approve to oversee the matchmaking. What does that do for the sport in the region? How big of a step back is that?
It can be a big step back. If again, better slow down that something really bad happened. You know, like again, as I know, nobody ever died in the MMA so far.
Right.
So at least in the ring, you know, in any of these events. So let's keep that way. It happened before, and well, maybe they can hide Joe Silva.
They can hire Joe Silva, and it'll have an economic impact on the fighters as well, because of the fighters who often, when they're developing their careers as pros, fight regionally because the promotions don't pay them enough or fly them into other states. In Georgia, are going to have to go to neighboring states to fight. They're not going to be able to do it in their home state, and that's going to cost them more too.
And that's also is pretty bad for the local guys that can bring the family, can bring increase the ticket sales, So Invicta FC4.
Yes, next one coming up. January 2013. The whole card not together yet.
It's Friday? It's not Friday.
It is
Saturday.
I'm pretty sure it's a Saturday. But
13.
the one fight that they're announcing, 8-2 against an 8-0, Carla Esparza, local to Southern California, against Ayaka Hamasaki, who's 8-0. Esparza defending the strawweight championship. That is a really good matchup. Carla Esparza, she is a very high action fighter.
It is a good matchup. It's exciting, and again, the female fights getting big, and again, they need to do something like that. Watch out and get same level girls and to bring a nice show. Hopefully, they don't do as the same as the guys that when they two match up together, they become a boring fight.
Right, and sometimes styles cancel each other out too.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a great thing. Invicta producing top female mixed martial artists. If the UFC is opening the door now via Ronda Rousey and maybe more fights, possibly more of an inspiration for them to do that. But we'll have Carla Esparza in here too. We had Jessica Penne, also a title holder in Invicta, so we'll have Carla in as well.
She's more than welcome to come. And again, guys, follow us up on Facebook.com, My Combat Channel, Facebook. And also on Twitter, same, My Combat Channel.
Tweet our Twandle, we'll twiddle you back, and that's how this relationship works.
Yes, we're going back and forth, and now we're just going to the commercial.
We're just going.
We'll be back.
Hold your breath. We should return. Welcome back, folks, to My Combat Channel News. Now we're going to go to some of the international expansion we talked about. MMA looking to expand again. We're trying to get into New York, trying to keep it in Georgia. Meantime, overseas, not so much a problem.
No, overseas is always never a problem. It's open everywhere. It's like being in Brazil, China, India, Japan, now Indonesia.
Indonesia, a huge market. UFC just partnering up with MNC Media, which is a huge conglomerate. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 40% of the media market there in that area, in that region, Indonesia, is run by or dictated by content and talent from MNC. 238 million potential viewers in the population alone in that area that they can hit. And the folks from MNC, big UFC proponents, they love it. They think that the sport, and specifically the UFC, will have a very successful footprint in that area.
I can just imagine when they put all this together, how many views they're gonna have, at the same time worldwide. It's gonna be a great number. It's gonna beat everybody up.
For the UFC to expand into these kind of markets too, and they mentioned this in the article too, how important is it for them to have a high percentage of homegrown talent, where they have fighters who are also from that region too? Because locally in regional shows, ticket sales is contingent on having regional fighters in the area. Is that going to be a big thing internationally as well?
Well, they can always match up an Indonesian guy against a Chinese guy, a Chinese guy against Indian guy, and go back and forth in the area and leave them stay away from Brazilian, stay away from from some American guys that are on the top. So
right.
And that's it. It's always matchmaker, a little glamour on that. They can make it happen.
Right, and then the UFC also they have the luxury of bringing in names, and if the sport is even remotely known there, which I'm sure it is, you bring in some name fighters on the card, you put some locals on the undercard, they're going to fill arenas there like you do everywhere else.
In my opinion, the first thing they need to start to do is start to put it up a local ring girls. Come on, you can find a beautiful woman anywhere on this planet. Okay, I didn't like it when they went to Brazil and they did not have a Brazilian.
Not one?
One Brazilian ring girl. Come on. And they need to bring Ariana from here over there. She's beautiful. Yes, she is. Okay, but come on. That's my opinion to you, Dana. Start to pick at least one ring girl for every single country that you go. Don't bring a Korean girl in China like the last one. Okay, that for us they maybe all look the same, but they're not. If you're from China, you know that girl is not Chinese. That's my point.
Right.
For us over here, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah. No. That is true, and again too, I think part of that is the UFC and their branding, which took so long for them to even put the deal together with Fox, because the UFC has their brand, and their ring girls are part of their brand, especially Ariane. So they're going to bring her everywhere because they expect that's part of their following, that's part of their branding.
No,
but I like the idea though.
They can have more than one.
Sure.
It's more than one round, you know.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Unless of course there's first round arm bars.
I know.
And then not so much. Speaking of not having more than first rounds, and we're talking about women's mixed martial arts on a lot of our shows.
We do.
This is something that all you have to do is be a fight fan, and you're going to want to see it if you haven't. This is in the Aggression Fighting Championship. This is up in Canada. Sheila Bird did what in the laundry industry is called starching somebody with Christina Barry. It took her all of, and we're going to see the clip, 11 seconds to do it.
That's it. Right there. Boom.
And that was it.
Done.
Good follow through, good finish.
Wow.
I think the most
the referee,
damage she
the
took
referee
was
almost knocked her out.
That was the most damage she took in that fight.
Yep.
And you see right there, Christina Barry is you know,
she's definitely see some birds.
Yeah, she's going around her head.
Around her head. There we go.
Like Twitter.
I know.
And now again, Sheila Bird remains unbeaten, and now there's already questions in the air of, does she go to Invicta? Does she end up in the UFC again? She's at Aggression Fighting Championship, a good promotion up in Canada. But you have other shows that are doing women like Invicta, UFC soon, Strikeforce.
Now is everywhere. And I like it. I like that. I like the glamour. I like the girls, you know, I like when they bring it up, and I like when they know how to fight. Anyway, we also have our own sexy calm down.
And you don't have to fight with her.
No.
Though it would not be a bad idea.
She's just delivered to you like that.
Yeah. On a platter. Here's our top 10.
I'm Erin Gales, and this is the top 10 light heavyweight. Number 10 is Antonio Rogero Nogueira. And number 9 is Quentin Jackson. And number 8, we have Ryan Bader. Number 7 is Alexander Gustafsson. Number 6, we have Phil Davis. At number 5, we have Lyoto Machida. And at number 4, we have Mauricio Huas. And at number 3, we have Rashad Evans. Number 2, Dan Henderson. And at number 1, we have John Bones Jones. Thank you for watching. I am Erin Gales, and that was your top 10 light heavyweight.
Your favorite part?
I love that.
You do?
Yeah, you do.
Don't go anywhere, folks. The show's still more to come. Jocelyn Chang in studio with an amazing story that you are not going to want to miss. And we'll have her right here between us, keeping the peace. She's got good ground game, and that's what I need between he and I.
There we go. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, folks, to My Combat Channel News. Fabiano and I, joined by a very special guest, Jocelyn Chang. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, you're welcome.
So
Thank you for having me.
Black belts in one.
For the record, if you can get a shot of this, this is a. I'm wearing a. It's almost black. It's brown.
And anyway, you don't want to get a shot of that.
No,
forget it. Forget it. You know. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming. You know.
You are. You said how many degrees?
I am a second degree black belt.
Black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
How long did it take you to get to that point? And then if you could tell us how you got started.
It took me about 11 years to get my black belt from La Caviera. I'm very proud to be her black belt. And how I started was I was in college, and I told my boyfriend, who's now my husband, that I needed to, find a martial art that would, make me safe. Because in college there's lots of rapes and everything.
Right.
And through research, he told me that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the way to go, because women don't have any strength punching and kicking. We're just not built like a man. So he suggested going into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And for my birthday, he gave me a Gracie Rape Safe class. And that was the beginning of it all.
Wow.
That's good. That was good. Very, hands up for your husband.
Yeah.
Smart guy, because normally a jailer guy doesn't want to have, his girlfriend or wife, wrestling
Able to
around.
kick his ass.
No, not only that, he's
Yeah,
wrestling
right.
around with a lot of guys. This is a guy sport. There's a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of things, into that room. And as a woman, you know that better, and, good for him, good for you.
Oh, thank you. I have to say that when he first gave it to me, and the class started on my birthday, I did not appreciate it until I became a purple belt. That was when I told him
What was your initial thought? Have you not heard of Victoria's Secret? Have you seen Macy's? The circular's right here. What is this?
I just didn't expect that as a gift. Maybe flowers, candy, whatever, but not but not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, even though that's what I
You
had.
could go easy and just buy you a gun.
That is effective.
It's like, you buy me a gun and that's it, and some shooting classes. That's
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
Much easier. Then 11 years later, who I am.
That's true.
Proud to be a black belt, second
Yes.
degree in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu.
A
Yes.
black belt and a
Brazilian
lousy
Jiu-Jitsu.
shot.
Guys, we're not talking about not disrespecting any other sport. I'm not talking about the sport that you go in when
Right.
you're 5 or 6 years old and you become a black belt a couple months later, So we talk about a lot work, a lot of time on the mat. That's
Yeah,
what
you got
we're
to pay your
talking about.
dues.
Yeah,
It's a long process too.
it is.
And for you, it's not only been, I'm assuming it served you in the protection, and so you'd have a sense of confidence and be able to
Yes.
handle yourself, but also, if you could share with us, your life has also gone through some trials and tribulations, and you have found more than just self-defense in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes. In 2009, I was diagnosed with cancer. I actually found the lump myself. And all I can say is Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, has really saved my life as far as recovery. And, I'm able to, be strong from it. So
I want to go too deep into this, but did you went to the whole chemo process and everything, or?
Yes, I went through 5 months of chemo and then 30 days every day of radiation.
Yeah, that's tough. I lost my dad in cancer, so I kind of saw the whole process, and I saw what the process does to your body, and everything is painful.
It is very painful.
It's very painful. It's so painful that, like some level, outside looking, I was like, I don't know if each one is better, Just let go or stay. You have to be strong to want to stay here,
Oh yes, I mean it is. You do have to have a strong will, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's not very forgiving on your body, and it prepared my body to deal with the stresses of chemo. So, I'm very blessed to have taken Jiu-Jitsu and, sticking with it for 17, 18 years.
You see that as somewhat of a blessing, I guess, because it was originally gifted to you, as you said,
it was.
as a self-defense, as something to protect you, and it ended up serving that purpose, but it did it in a completely different way.
Yes. I had no idea, when you start doing jiu-jitsu, you never think that something like cancer would affect you, and it has, and you just deal with it, and luckily jiu-jitsu was there for me. So again, I'm very blessed to have had the opportunity to even be in this sport.
Did you have a chance to use the jiu-jitsu to protect yourself
Thank
after
God.
all this?
Thank God, no. Because what happened is,
Oh, let me pay somebody to get you.
When he makes a
Hold on
call,
one
by the
second.
way, and I'm going to
Let
tell
him make
you,
a
when he
call.
makes a phone
Yeah.
call, he knows a guy.
Let's make a guy come in and let's tape it. Let's see how good the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is going to do.
You know what's impressive? He's king of the armbar, and he's not doing it. And so he's as intimidated as I am right now.
No, I definitely cannot do it. But and how about that? Does your husband train?
yes, he does. He's a black belt himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Okay, so he got himself equal.
Well,
He was training before?
Yes, he was. His professor who gave him his black belt is Ricardo Medina.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he, since he was already in it, that's what made him also decide for me to go into it.
That's good.
So you're teaching, real fast, if you can tell anybody where they can find out more about you, where you're teaching.
I'm teaching over at Let's Roll in Old Torrance. Come on down. We're a small little academy, but every time that we compete, we always medal. So it's a great place to train.
There you go.
Excellent.
Good.
So,
Thanks for having.
yeah.
Thanks for coming here.
Thanks very much for being here on behalf of both of us. And we've been known to be called meddlers before. Yeah, totally different context, but
Well,
meddlers
thank you for
nonetheless.
having me.
We appreciate you sharing your
Thank
story
you.
and your inspiration with us and with our viewers as well.
Thank you.
Have a good night.